so for pumpkin puree, start with a small sugar pumpkin, cut it in half, remove its innards, then set it in a preheated oven at 180 degrees Celsius or 360 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes or until a knife goes easily in it. After it cools off, remove the skin and mash it into a paste with a potato masher or by using a food processor. You can store it in the fridge in an airtight container for up to 2 weeks. Let's start with the crust. Use 150 grams of graham crackers, or if you're in Europe like me, use butter biscuits, they work pretty well. Blitz them in the food processor until fairly fine, add 12 grams of brown sugar, a pinch of salt, and half a teaspoon of cinnamon. Then drizzle in 45 grams or 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Once the mixture starts sticking to the side, turn it off and check that it holds together when pressed. Then you can add it to a springform pan. I'm using a 18 cm or 7-inch pan. Use something flat and round to press down the crumbs. For the edge, make sure you even out the top side so it doesn't burn. Bake it in a preheated oven at 160 degrees Celsius or 325 Fahrenheit for 10 minutes. Once done, take it out and let it cool off on the side. In the meantime, let's start with the cream cheese filling. Use 525 grams or 1 1/4 pounds of cream cheese. Make sure it is room temperature as it will mix a lot easier. Then add 170 grams or 3/4 of a cup of sour cream and mix these together until creamy and fluffy. After that, add a 1/4 teaspoon of salt, 100 grams of white sugar or your choice of sweetener, and 100 grams of dark brown sugar. Make sure you add it bit by bit so it doesn't clump into balls. This will get a bit messy, there's no way around that. Once all the sugar has been mixed in, add 170 grams of pumpkin puree, 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, half a teaspoon of pumpkin pie spice mix. I'm using my own blend, which consists of 3 parts cinnamon, 1 part each of ground nutmeg, cloves and ginger powder. Mix everything with the hand mixer. Once done, we're going to switch to a whisk. You don't want to add any more air to the mixture because it will lead to cracks when the air bubbles try to escape through the top. So whisk in 2 eggs, one at a time, just enough to have it blend into the mixture. Slowly, while whisking, sift in 10 grams or 1.5 teaspoon of flour. Alright, our filling is done. Now it's time to prepare the pan for baking. Make sure you have your oven preheated at 160 degrees Celsius or 325 Fahrenheit. We're going to use a water bath. For this, we'll place the springform pan inside the second larger pan. Usually you see it recommended to use aluminium foil, but I tried that a couple of times and I always get some water inside, even when using 2 layers. So what I like to do is place my pan inside the oven roasting bag, roll it so it comes right at the edge of the pan. Pour in the filling and use a spatula to lightly tap it in the middle. This helps with evening out as well as to bring to surface any trapped air bubbles. Place it in the oven and fill it with the boiling water until it reaches the half point of the springform pan. Then bake the cheesecake for 1 hour at 160 degrees Celsius or 325 Fahrenheit. Whatever you do, refrain from opening the oven to look inside. The cheesecake is a sensitive mistress. She's going to split as soon as it senses cool air coming in. After 1 hour, perform a wobble test. It should still ripple a bit, but mostly in the middle. In my case, I left it for an additional 10 minutes. After that, turn off the oven, leave it inside to cool off with the door slightly open for 1 whole hour. 10 minutes into this cooling off phase, go and run a silicone spatula or dull knife around the outside edge, just to make sure it doesn't stick as it cools off. Once that hour has passed, take it out and leave it to cool off completely at room temperature, which can take 3 to 4 hours. And after that, you can finally put it in the fridge overnight. Alright, so add 40 grams or a 1/4 cup of mascarpone, 100 milliliters or half a cup of heavy cream, and a teaspoon of powdered sugar. Whip it real good and add it to a piping bag and leave it on the side while we cut the cheesecake. So here it is, 1 day later, nicely chilled, and as you can see, it tends to contract as it cools off. That's why it's important to make sure it doesn't stick to the sides, else it's going to crack in the middle, trust me. I know, there might be some condensation on top of it, which you can collect by lightly tapping with a paper towel. Before taking out the side panel, run a knife all around the edge and try to get as deep as you can.